Hey there everyone, Michael Damon here with the latest episode of Starbeam.one, Stand Up and Shine and Shill. This is a series I put together to keep people up to date with my project, Starbeam.one. The show is modeled after the agile methodology of a stand-up where you tell your teammates what you're working on, what you're going to be working on, and any sort of friction points that you may be encountering. And I've added so much more. Let's begin. All right, brushing off the dust here. I'm 3 weeks overdue on this, and I just started circling around today to do the show for today because it was 2 years ago this week that I announced the preview of Starbeam.one, and that was after developing for 2 years on before then, and finally launching something out there for the world to see. And so that was kind of what I was looking at. I was like, I could do a show, but you just also with how quiet things are right now, I just decided to just wait a few weeks and make an announcement today, because today I'm announcing version 1, and that is now officially out. I'm very excited about that. And I think with the last show I mentioned that we have beta 3, and I thought about naming that to version 1, but there wasn't enough time, and so I've been working on version 1, and there's a lot of that has happened since then, and so I'll get into that the next slide here. But yeah, I guess I have a little bit of it here already. So really, kind of 2 years ago when I did the preview, it was all about getting on Azure, and I spent 2 months getting on Azure, and there were so many, and I spent 2 months after that fixing all the things about Azure and learning Azure and whatnot. And so that's basically what I've been doing since the last show. And there's a lot that's there that I'm really happy with, and I'll get into it in the next slide. But that's in there now, and it's basically a full rewrite, and it's fully automated. And then there was a full redeploy, and this happened yesterday, I believe. The days are kind of blending in together. And so that actually took a... no, it was a Sunday, so that was actually 2 days ago. Yesterday was cleanup. The days truly are blending together for me. And so that was 8 hours that it took for me to redeploy, and we have a brand new environment, and let's talk about that in the next slide here. Okay, so what did I do? The first thing you'll notice, kind of sad, but, depending on your perspective of this, but when you look at the application, everything looks exactly the same. So what I did was I refactored the way that our applications are deployed, and also the number of applications we do have to deploy. And so things are much lighter and faster and easier to manage. And it's really nice for a developer and technical debt point of view. But if you're a stakeholder, although we don't really have stakeholders, but if you're interested in seeing what's new, we don't have that, and you're going to be disappointed. But for me, this is more long-term viability, and it really, number one, it cuts down costs. So our Azure bill, which is being paid for right now by Microsoft for startups, was about $1,000 a month, and now it's going to be about $350 per month. So that is a huge decrease in the costs that we have now because of all this work. But also kind of thinking about this too for me is that, one of the things I've always thought about having is getting an Azure engineer and, employing someone to help out with that. Well, now I'm that person because I am completely comfortable with deploying to Azure. I know everything about it. I'm almost as comfortable with it as I am about code. So now I've got the full spectrum. They call it full stack, although I don't really agree with that term, but I've got the full spectrum of Azure plus .NET, and I can do it all there. So that really will help cut down costs too, because now I can take a large, I can basically take care of all the technology, deployments, and code. So there is that. And is there anything else here? A few applications. So here's the other thing that's the middle point that I skipped over is the deployment environment. So now we have a very easy way of deploying to testing environment that just stands up and then shuts down when we don't need it anymore. And we have also the same thing for preview environment, which will take all of the data from the production environment, copy it over, and then it allows us to have a completely separate environment to test brand new, really kind of dangerous functionality or technology or for deployments that we're going to have. And so if we have something that is more, riskier or is a little bit more involved, and this has happened many times where I'm feeling a little, apprehensive about it. Well, now we can just copy it all over to a preview environment and test it there without any, having any anxiety about breaking production code and the production environment. So very happy about that. There's a lot of really good stuff in there from a technical point of view. Again, customers or users really won't see a lot of difference, but hopefully in the next release here in 2 months, that will change. Okay, so moving on that note, what am I going to be doing here for the next 2 months? I'll probably actually have another show here in 2 weeks to get back on schedule, but I'm going to have a release here hopefully the beginning of April. If I stay on target, stay on track here, stay on schedule, once again, try to get back on schedule here, is that we try to do a release every 2 months. And, now I'm starting to get an idea. I'm starting to feel better about the direction, right? I think last time I talked about subscriptions, I'm calling them automatic purchases now. And that's definitely still on the plate, but I want to improve what we have now. So just get rid of the technical debt that we have now, because I'm on a roll right now. I did a lot of improvements these past, 6 weeks now that I've been on. Actually, it took 2 months. So 8 weeks on the solution and Azure story. And it just feels really good, right? There's just a lot of, control over that and a lot more control over that. And I just feel a lot more comfortable about, just deployments and also how to handle changes, right? Like, especially like big changes. Like, how do you take brand new code and, deploy it and test it while you still have an environment? Well, now we have that with preview, but we also have a really cool staging setup as well. And I'm just feeling a lot better about everything. So I want to continue that with our features. And so what this is going to entail is improving the model and improving the performance in some key areas that I've noticed. And then also, I'm going to rewrite and simplify, while rewriting it, the publishing story. So as artists publish their works, I want to make it very simple and very clean and a lot better than what we have now. And I'm also wanting to introduce things such as albums, or also known as collections in NFTs, and content tags, so that we can tag content with different subjects and different categories, so that it's easier to search. And then searches down the road as well. That's actually it for this first. But so making it easier for things such as searching. And then for the next version after that, well, we'll get to that. But I just kind of went through the list there of all the things that are on the list there. So now we can go to the next slide. Man, I'm definitely feeling a little rusty here, kind of brushing off the dust and getting back into this because it's definitely, I'm already hearing my voice kind of strain a little bit. Okay, so here's my favorite slide. We've got friction points with Hide the Pain Herald, and we do have some items, thankfully, that have been crossed off. So the Razor team, they've been doing really good work there. They're actually really working on this thing, and they've done some improvements. So my development machine no longer feels like it is a cryptocurrency mining rig when I'm typing on the keyboard. So that has been so awesome. Thank you, Razor team out there. You're working on it. You're doing improvements. So these other issues, really quickly, Twitter limited our accounts without explanation, and it's a huge bug, and they just ignored me. In fact, I got on their developer forums, and I was updating every day, asking for an update or just an answer. They didn't answer at all. And they, instead of giving me assistance, they delisted the thread. And that's just, I can't get that. I'm like really still... there's just no words. Well, there are a lot of words I can say for it, but I will not. But it's just very unprofessional, I feel, at the very least, that they would do that instead of actually helping people who are paying $100 a month. I'm paying $100 a month for their API. They didn't help me. They delisted my forum, my forum post, and so I'm just like, is it really worth the trouble here? Because at the end of the day, I can just delete the application and create a new one. But I run into the same problem of having it delisted again, and I don't know what caused the delisting, so it's really kind of a huge hassle. I guess we'll just cross that painful bridge when we get to it. So anyways, the Twitter kind of took care of itself, and we have new applications now waiting to be delisted for some unknown reason. And so that's done. The only two issues now remaining are the IDE redraw issues, and that's actually seemed to have gotten better. So for every time that I do a debug session, it was taking 5 to 6 seconds, and now it's down to like 2 to 3 seconds, which is a much better improvement, but it's still there, right? We want to get that down to like nothing, which would be awesome. And so there's that. And then the build times are still there, and that went from 40 seconds to 20 seconds, still one of those things, but they're working on it. They're out there working on it, so I'm actually somewhat confident that that's going to get fixed. All right, next slide here. All right, down the home stretch here, moving on to effectiveness levels, which are different levels of criteria about the project, how I feel about that. And as I like to say, if the world talked about its feelings, the world would be a better place. All right, so we're going to talk about morale here. And overall, it might be a little higher, but it's probably about 7.5. I think I actually had this last time where I'm very enthusiastic about the future, but, it's still, we're kind of talking about the schedule next. This sort of, took 2 months to do what I did, and still that's kind of, I've only got a year left of Microsoft for startup credits, and so it's the pressure is there a little bit, but overall I am optimistic. Schedule kind of slipping, like I just mentioned. It's 2 months now that took, and I don't know what I was thinking it would take, maybe 2 weeks, but that's really wishful thinking, I guess, is probably the proper term for it. But, overall, I feel like these features I'm going to start building, number one, they're going to be focused more on generating revenue, and they're going to offer a lot of value. And so we'll see how that does. But right now, it's sort of just taking 2 months, kind of puts a dent in for me. Technology has increased a little bit. It used to be on 8.5 with those fixes from the Razer team. Thanks again. Marketing, marketing just sort of it's taking care of itself right now. I'm not really putting a lot of effort into that. I'm just really focused on features, so just leaving it where it is. Finally, support, working well as always. All right, there we are. 12 minutes. Check in. My voice is actually okay now. I was kind of concerned. I'm like, am I going to survive this? But just want to thank everyone out there who's still around. We have a few people out there in Discord that chime in from time to time, and they're out there. And also, Va Vortex community is doing really great. We got a chat on Twitter that's just really awesome. And if you're not in there and you want to be on there, contact me. Let me know and I'll add you. It's just a really great chat, and also Discord is as well when we actually get activity there. All right, well, with that, just want to thank you. And until next time, stay safe and stay bright out there. Goodbye.